MLI Senior Fellow J. Michael Cole, in a recent piece published in the Globe and Mail, examines how Hong Kong long served as the canary in the coal mine for China's behavior. The former British Crown colony acted as a barometer of sorts to determine whether Beijing would abide by its commitments or, as many feared, gradually subject the territory to restrictions similar to those experienced in China proper. Some hoped that experience of a freer system could, over time, encourage Beijing to loosen restrictions in the rest of China, while others argued that a successful one country, two systems approach could encourage democratic Taiwan to link its future with China's. Developments in Hong Kong mark the end of any such delusions. As Cole argues, the canary is dead and Beijing has killed it. On January 6th, more than 50 pro-democracy activists in Hong Kong, as well as an American rights lawyer, were arrested on suspicion of breaking the city's national security law. Those arrested, many of them high-profile figures in the pro-democracy movement, had taken part in a ballot last year to select candidates ahead of a legislative election. This basic expression of democracy constituted an act of subversion in violation of the national security law in the eyes of the Chinese Communist Party and its enablers in Hong Kong. The crackdown, the biggest since the controversial national security law was implemented in June last year, comes on the heels of several months of unrest in the territory, resulting in police brutality, assault by pro-government triads, and the arrest of several dozens of the democracy activists who failed or refused to seek refuge abroad. Media organizations, such as Jimmy Lai's Next Media, have also been targeted under the new law, with Mr. Lai himself facing years of imprisonment. It has become more and more evident that the one country, two systems formula was an act of deception. With Beijing increasing its influence, directly or via co-opted local officials, upon every aspect of Hong Kong society. By the time of the implementation of the national security law, Beijing left no doubt that the idea of one country had triumphed definitively over two systems. Those who merely insisted that Beijing respect its promises would now be subject to draconian measures. And if the Hong Kong judiciary wasn't willing to clamp down hard enough, pro-Beijing elements were happy to suggest that pro-democracy activists should be spirited to China proper to be tried and, inevitably, convicted. This alarming turn of events, combined with the detention of upwards of 1 million Uyghurs in concentration camp-style facilities, and an intensifying crackdown against Tibetans, along with much, much more, provide clear evidence that Beijing has no compunction in assailing the liberal democratic values which inspired the creation of the international order following the Second World War. This must serve as a wake-up call to anyone who still believes we can treat China as a normal or indispensable partner. We must be clear-eyed about who we are dealing with. With Hong Kong all but lost, gutted, isolated, the mantle of Canary in the Chinese mind has now passed to Taiwan. Taiwan now stands on the very fault line separating the free world and resurgent authoritarianism. J. Michael Cole concludes, make no mistake, having buried one country, two systems in Hong Kong, there is absolutely no doubt that should China successfully dig its claws into the Taiwanese real estate it covets, by means peaceful or otherwise, it will not be hundreds of people who are detained and disappeared, but tens of thousands. I'm Brian Lee Crowley for the Macdonald-Laurier Institute.